Well, the disaster of an opening ceremony for the Paris 2024 Olympics has brought the Last Supper back into public conversation. And one thing that I think gets lost in the conversation is that Leonardo da Vinci's version of it, and that's what our Paris, maybe it's a parody, maybe that's a charitable word for it. It was a disaster. How did someone like? How does that image even exist in someone's imagination? I don't really relate to it. I got to be honest. But we take Leonardo da Vinci's version as sort of our cultural norm, so much so that we get these funky movies and books about it. But there's a problem that we don't see in the Christian East, and I'm going to look at some Syriac iconography here to talk about it. And that's the shape of the table. So, whether it's Paris or Da Vinci, you've got this rectangular table, and that's not how early iconography depicted the Last Supper. In fact, the tables were semicircular. And these circular tables reflect this sigma sitting situation. And that's basically describing a stibadium. A stibadium is this semicircular couch sort of thing that they used in ancient Rome. And so the the table, instead of being a full circle, has one side that is flat or straight, and that's presumably so that the table can be waited upon, right? So that the service or whoever is setting the table or bringing the food has access to the entire table. And so if you look in early iconography is semicircular, and that does a couple things. It showcases everyone in the picture without it being awkward, but it's also historically accurate. And another way that this is done is through a circular representation of the Last Supper. And so, the question is what would have been used in ancient Judea in the Republican period? So that's going to exist prior to the incarnation. Now, would that have entered into Judea? Maybe. We know that there's a strong Roman influence there for about 40 years or so prior to Christ. And in fact, the time of the Last Supper is going to be a good 70 years around, or since the time the Romans start really interacting in the area. We know there's a lot of Roman architecture. Could it have been circular? That's another question we can ask for history. Either way, we know that this semicircular version is something that is present in the Mediterranean, and it's probably how people would sit. The head of the table would be at one of the ends, right? These are the places of prestige. And if you look in the icons, this is where Christ is seated. He's seated at the end, not in the center, like you'd see in Da Vinci's or whatever the heck is going on in the Paris thing. The other major dignitary being St. Peter, who is at the other end. So, if you're interested in the ancient Syriac or Aramaic tradition of Christianity, go ahead and look at its images as well. And in fact, these aren't just exclusive to the Syriac tradition. I mean, these are found in Roman catacombs and in Byzantine iconography, where these impressions or the layout of these images all come together in a very specific shape because the image tells a story, right? If you've ever heard anything about Orthodox iconography, a common refrain is that it means to write an image, right? Iconographin, right? To write the icon, to graphene the icon, to graffiti the icon. You can think of the icon, think of it like that. So every image tells a story and every piece of it has something going on. Why wouldn't it use the form of the day in the ancient world? It certainly differs from a Da Vinci type image that we see painted, and that's one of the issues that is really at stake, in the Renaissance when these old forms are being broken by new artists and where sacred art is going through a transition. Is it the same as scripture, right? Is it something that's pretty consistent everywhere, at least in its basic form? And then the expression or the shadow of that form exists in the local representation of it. Or in the Renaissance period, is it something that can be reimagined? And art historians spend a lot of time with that, or at least people who focus on that period do. So I hope this has been of interest to you and maybe is a way of recovering whatever vomit you had in your mouth after seeing the Paris Olympic Games. It's just so bizarre. Like part of me wants to laugh. Like it's hysterical in a way, but I don't know that it intends to be. I think it's trying to revere something inverted, to put it, mildly. I'm confused by it. Hey, if I'm wrong, it's okay. Tell me in the comments. I'm open to criticism and hearing other opinions. But if you need to wash your mouth out with soap after seeing that thing, I don't blame you. So go ahead and look at some really great classical iconography, whether it's Syriac iconography, whether it's general Eastern Christian iconography, the Orthodox iconographic tradition that you'll find in different regions of the East, or even the ancient Roman world as well. Check it out and let me know what you think. Let me know what you come up with, and do some searches on the Stibadium and on the Sigma, the different ways in which Roman furniture, and the triclinium would have looked in those days. I love Roman homes. There's just something really, really cool about them. And let me know what you think. Thanks again for watching. Go ahead and do the algorithmic duties: like, share, subscribe, comment to your heart's content. And even if you're malcontent, you may comment as well. Thanks again for watching, and we will see you soon.